Good afternoon, Chumahan, your neighborhood Indian, coming back to you with some beet facts. And this might be a little bit rough because I'm going to actually read from How Not to Die, Dr. Greger's book. I want to give a shout out to Xavier Hinton El Day because he brought it to my attention that beets are a hybrid vegetable. They might have been created by scientists in a lab by crossing, however they do that. I don't know, pollinating, and that's true, and that it has inorganic lead. That part I don't know, but it's possible that it's true. And I'm going to say this: that a lot of vegetables are hybrids. Cauliflower, I think, is a hybrid. Turnips might be a hybrid. In fact, I think a lot of vegetables that we consider to be regular veggies are hybrids, and I don't necessarily think that blending vegetables or having vegetables that can create new vegetables through cross pollination or any of that kind of thing is necessarily bad. I don't consider it the same thing as like actually going in and genetically modifying by taking something that's like centipede DNA and then injecting it into corn or whatever. A lot of the hybrids that we know as vegetables now have been in the food chain for a very long time, and so that type of hybridization I don't consider to be genetic modification. Sometimes these GMO people like to come by and say like, hey, if you make a nectarine, what's that? It's part peach, part plum, or some bullshit like that, right? That's not real. But nectarines have been around for a very long time, and the process of that hybrid is it's not the same thing as putting insect DNA into corn DNA. All right, having said all that, let's talk a little bit about beets. And again, this is not my original thoughts. I didn't even know anything about beets. I barely have time to know anything about beets, so I'm relying on Dr. Greger, the book How Not to Die, page 158 through 159. He says that beets, right, when volunteers drank beet juice, they dropped their systolic blood pressure by 10 points, and that lasted throughout the day. And that had to do with the beet's antioxidant qualities and that are natural nitrates, which your body converts to nitric oxide, which is not to be confused with nitrites, which is like stuff that's in sausage that kills you. Nitrates. Let's see. So that study that I just talked about, where the volunteers, their blood pressure dropped, it was performed on a group of healthy subjects. They needed to test the power. So they said, okay, so people had beet juice, but they were healthy. So, how do we know that it wasn't their just healthiness or whatever that caused that? And let me just give you the name. AJ Webb and Patel and Lukajorkakis, whatever. The name of their article or their study is Acute Blood Pressure Lowering Vasoprotective and Antiplatelet Properties of the Dietary Nitrate via Bioconversion to Nitrite in the journal Hypertension. So it's a journal that's about fucking hypertension. So obviously they're looking at stuff and they say beet juice. So they go back, they go, okay, great. So healthy people, it went down. But what about unhealthy people? Maybe healthy people just know they drink beet juice and they calm the fuck down. So you need to test the power of beets where it counts most in people with high blood pressure. If nitrate-rich vegetables can so powerfully control humanity's leading risk factor for dying, right? Hypertension, blood pressure, that's the lead cause of death in a country that has more food than it needs, right? Why did it take until 2015 before such a study was published? Well, Dr. Greger says, who's going to fund it? Big Beet, right? Drug companies rake in more than $10 billion a year from blood pressure medications. You can't make billions on beets. So why tell anybody that if you just eat beets, you could lower your blood pressure? And so, luckily, the British Heart Foundation funded a beet juice study involving people with high blood pressure. Half the subjects were provided a cup of beet juice daily for 4 weeks, while the other half were given an indistinguishable nitrate free placebo drink. So, one group got real beet juice, the other group got some kind of red drink that didn't have any of the beet properties in it, and blood pressure was reduced by 8 points in the beet juice drinkers. And the benefits actually grew more and more the more they did it, suggesting that, it's not just about drinking one thing of beet juice, but if you made beets a regular part of your diet or a vegetable that's nitrate rich, that would help lower your blood pressure. And it's interesting because they're saying that the researchers found that not only was systolic blood pressure reduced by about 8 points in the beet juice drinkers, but the benefits grew week by week, suggesting their blood pressure might have continued to improve even further. The scientists concluded that nitrate-rich vegetables may prove to be both cost-effective, affordable, and favorable in public health. The optimal dose appears to be 1/2 cup, but beet juice is perishable, and it's hard to find it processed, and I don't think you want it processed. A 15-ounce can of beets might provide the same dose of nitrates, but remember, it's canned, so it's probably got sodium. Let's see. I'm going to pause this so I can get to the next beet thing. All right, so nitrates, which are in leafy green vegetables and beets in heavy doses, they not only help deliver oxygenated blood to your muscles. So think about all the bodybuilder people that right, who are on some kind of pre-workout, which used to be me. I used to do a lot of pre-workout. And how much energy they're trying to get to increase their ability to lift weights or whatever that is. And part of it is getting oxygen to the muscle because the muscle needs oxygen to build the energy. And so it goes. So if oxygenated blood gets to your muscles because the beets, the nitrates are dilating your arteries a little bit, but it turns out that they're also enabling your body to extract more energy from the oxygen, something never before thought possible. For example, one little shot of beet juice has been found to allow free divers to hold their breath for a half a minute longer than usual. Don't believe me? Let's look at the footnote. Footnote says, I clicked on it, but I can't remember the number. Let's see if I go back. Right, okay. 156. Sorry. This is part of the process. This is what you guys don't see from behind the scenes when I'm reading through all this stuff. Okay. Okay, so H.K. Ingen, A.M. Jones, Ehrenberg, and Shagete, in their article, Acute Dietary Nitrate Supplementation Improves Dry Static Apnea Performance. Apnea. I don't know what that means, but I know it's in sleep apnea, so it has to do with breathing. And this was an article, right? So dietary nitrate, meaning food with nitrates in it, improves static breath performance. And it was in Respire Physioneurobiology, which I think has to do with breathing, published in 2012, 182, volume, I don't know how to read that shit. But anyway, the point is just based on that, you could search it in Google Scholar and find it. But that's the study that said people could hold their breath longer, right? After sipping beet juice, cyclists were able to perform at the same level of intensity while consuming 19% less oxygen than the placebo group. Think about that, Peloton. Then they ramped up their bike resistance for an intense bout of what they called severe cycling, which sounds something like people that do steroids do, severe cycling, but it's not. The time, I think it has to do with stationary cycling. The time to exhaustion was extended from 9:43 minutes to 11:15 minutes. So essentially they got an extra almost 2 minutes of energy just from having the beet juice. The beet juice drinking group exhibited greater endurance while using less oxygen. Basically, the biker's body's energy production was way more efficient. No drugs, steroids, supplement, or intervention had ever been before been shown what beet juice can do. 157. Check the footnote. Go back. Bailey, Wynyard, and Van Hedelo. Dietary nitrate supplementation reduces O2 cost of low intensity exercise and enhances tolerance to high intensity exercise in humans. And this is what I was experiencing these last couple of days when I ate about 3/4 of a beet right before, right when I woke up, and then to the gym. An ability to endure a more intense workout from lifting weights, and obviously that's going to the oxygen consumption of the muscles as well. The effect works with whole beets too. In another study, men and women eating 1.5 cups of baked beets 75 minutes before running a 5K race. That's what I'm doing. Not the 5K race, eating the beets. Improved their running performance while maintaining the same heart rate and even reported less exertion. Faster time with less effort. 158. And again, Murphy, Hertz, and Weiss, whole beetroot consumption acutely improves running performance in the Journal of Nutrition and Diet, 2012. Again, it's probably why that, let's see. So you could look that up. To maximize athletic performance, the ideal dose and timing appears to be about 1/2 cup of beet juice or 3 3-inch beets or a cup of cooked spinach. So you could do a cup of cooked spinach too. 2 to 3 hours before quote unquote competition. Those are cited again. I don't know if you guys really need that. So in any event, that's where at least I got the beet idea from, was from Dr. Greger. It's a hybrid plant, but that doesn't change the fact that for performance, all it takes is some beets. A lot cheaper than pre-workout. And at least in the last 2 days that I've been eating beets about an hour before I started working out, I have noticed an improved capacity for burnout weightlifting. You know, doing supersets and then burning out. And I'm gonna leave it there.